I'm Amy, sex educator, sex and relationship coach, and sex shop owner.
And I'm April, VP of an international high-end pleasure products company and boss queen sex toy mogul. We're best friends who make our own rules about who we are as sexual beings.
With everything from how to be a badass in the bedroom to top tips for bringing your relationship to the next level, we have something just for you.
So sit back, relax,
And enjoy the show. Don't forget to head on over to our website at shamelesssex.com for more. And for 15% off of some of our favorite sex toys, use coupon code SHAMELESSPP in all caps at purepleasureshop.com.
You are listening to a pleasure podcast. For more from our sex podcast collective, visit pleasurepodcasts.com.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, hi. Oh, hidey ho.
Oh, hi. That was a South Park reference.
Was it?
Yeah,
Hidey
isn't
ho.
it the Christmas poo?
Mr. Hanky, the
Oh
Christmas
my God. Did you just
poo.
date yourself? I mean, I think that's still in the air, though.
It probably is. I feel like it's always on the air.
I think that was around when I was in junior high.
It was on when I was also in junior high, and it's actually still on, I think, to this day. I think they're still making episodes of South Park.
Oh, wow.
Don't quote me on that.
Don't
but I
quote
feel like
April
it's always
on
on
that.
at least some kind of rerun commercial style.
Well, this is not an episode about South Park, but South Park likes to push some buttons just as we do, but we do it in a more loving, gentle way. This episode, this is a repeat guest, Erin Alexander. April was not there for this episode.
I haven't been there for either of
Either
those
of them.
episodes. I'm busy.
You were busy.
I got things to do.
It was recorded in LA at Aaron's place. He has his own podcast called The Align Podcast, and I will read his bio in a little bit.
Can I just say I'm kind of bummed that I wasn't there because he is fuego.
He's
When I say fuego,
pretty.
that is Espanol for hata.
Super hot.
He's a hata.
He's very intelligent, yes, and
He's very intelligent. Yes, no, he's also very hot.
Yeah, a wonderful public speaker, and he's banging.
He's
and
he's all the things, the whole package.
It's all the things.
And I don't know about his package. Did you see his package?
No, but you know what he and I talked about? We were like, the next time we podcast, we should do it naked. And I was like, yeah, because he has a sauna there, and he also has like this ice box. And he also, every time people come to their podcast, they usually like dip in the ice box, and then they actually will often record in the sauna. I'm like, I have meetings after this. Like I had to go visit stores.
Well, you also have the Barkland glands thing, right?
Oh yeah, but it was more like I'm like ready to go visit 3 stores after this.
Oh, that's definitely the reason why. But I was like,
No.
that's definitely not a Barkland gland.
No, yeah, he wouldn't like that. That's not
Situation.
something that you can. I can be naked, and you don't necessarily know that I have a big cyst going on.
No, but I don't know if the ice box would be good for it.
Yeah,
Isn't it like a hot thing that you need?
Heat for
Yeah,
it.
exactly. That's where I was going with it.
Yeah.
I'm looking out for your
I
best
see.
interest.
You're saying not the cold. I see what you're saying.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah, you are my doctor now. I like that. But I like that idea. It was like I thought about it and you and I have talked about like we're maybe recording naked. You and I would be fine recording naked, but with him, I was like, I think it's a great idea. We should totally do it. And like, I wonder if we would really be able to focus.
Well, neither of us really wear underwear, so I have seen your yoni before when we've recorded, and if I don't wear pants, you've seen mine.
I mean, I've also just seen you naked in the hotel room because we're constantly in the hotel room together. So we share a hotel room when we travel, and I see you naked all the time. And I've known you for 13 or 14 years, so I've probably seen you naked at least like 50 to 100 times.
Yeah.
If not more.
We just get better with age, like a fine white
We are
wine.
like a fine white wine.
No, red wine.
And here's the other thing about this episode. So we talk about a lot of things. Like I can't even name all the areas that we go in this episode. And Aaron's a wonderful example of a man who's doing a lot of work on himself, on the ways that he gets in his way in terms of relationships, dating, sex, his insecurities, the work that he's done. We also talk about maybe experiment with some anal play as a man and, orgasms, multi-orgasms, all kinds of things.
Do you mean, when you say work, I'm just curious because I want to take this home sometimes. What kind of work? Is it therapy? Is he getting outside help, like neutral parties to help coach him? Is he reading books?
Books, yeah. I think for him more so. In the first episode that we recorded together, he said that he actually needs a good therapist. But I think he said that it's hard for him to find a good therapist because he's constantly looking for them to like show him how great they are. When a lot of times, there's a lot of shitty therapists out there. And that might be part of his work is to trust the therapist, right? But I think it's more like guides, teachers, books, various. I don't know if I think he says he does medicine work. I don't remember. But he's just on this path to just work through his stuff. So I love hearing when men are really embracing the fact that they don't know everything, that there's room to learn and to grow, and that they're open to maybe trying like a finger in their ass.
Well, I just think when I say I'm doing the work, because I say that sometimes, I'm like, I'm trying to do the work. It's always kind of getting in touch with my vulnerabilities and then trying to bring in practices that I'm maybe not super attuned with or comfortable with wholly.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to make myself have the tools to better myself in whatever way, whether it's communication, relationships. It's hard though.
Yeah.
It is hard. It's a daily process. And we're doing the work right now, not by having this podcast, but by talking to people that want to, I don't know, hear what we have to say. And we're always working.
And I'd say the next level of work too is not just, to read, because you can read all the books and have all the conversations, and you're still reaffirming what you already know and believe, right? It's to have a mirror, and it's not you just looking in a mirror. It's to have a human that's a guide or a coach or a therapist or someone or a teacher who can literally reflect things that you can't see in yourself that will help to guide you. So I don't know if that's what he's doing, but anyways, that's what I think is like the kind of next level work is not just listening to the podcast and reading the book for anyone else that's interested. I'm not
applying the knowledge too.
Yeah, applying the knowledge. Yeah, and then having someone to hold you accountable so that you don't just keep doing the same things that you tell yourself is, what you should do.
So on a different note, I just want to say that this current mic that I have, I keep getting hairy bits of shrapnel in my mouth and on my lips.
Mic.
How many times have I pulled it away and pulled something out of my mouth since we started?
A hairy muff in your mouth.
It's like 5 minutes in, and I'm like, I feel like your cat Stoli.
Oh,
18 years old, like
hairball.
So we should give a shout out because we did get a donation.
Someone donated some mics to us, which we have not used yet because I just got them in the house today. And so we're going to hook them up and use them. But wonderful human who I don't know if we can use your name, so you will be anonymous. So we'll call you Instagram follower who mailed us mics as a gift. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Those mics will probably be living at my house, fully set up, ready to go at all times. And we still are going to get our airplane style mics. Especially for when we have guests, because then we don't have to worry about the mic moving away. But thank you so much.
Also, I could get a set of recording equipment, and then we could tag team.
Yeah, one
tag
for you,
team recording.
You're saying you don't want the furry muff.
I could take the furry muff mics for a little while. I'll let Legend chew on them when he's naughty.
Oh my god. I mean, they've been decent mics.
They have been great.
They are right.
Our 80s mics are great.
You all ready for a sex question?
I can't wait.
So, sex question, everyone. Anonymous listener says, being a clean-cut guy with an innocent look is troublesome when it comes to dating. In the last 10 plus years, Craigslist, OkCupid, and Plenty of Fish helped secure dates. The problem was each girl assumed my physical appearance mirrored my personality. I tried FetLife a few times. However, it can be problematic when the woman does not want to go further unless I completely embrace and participate in their kinks. What is your suggestion for a guy that aspires to meet women that is sex positive and does not shame?
So I love how the sex questions, I typically go into a question. Which,
can I ask you a question?
Can I ask you a question for your sex question? My whole thing with this human, I guess he identifies as probably a cis man, I'm assuming, because he says man and then the women part. Why is it that there is an issue with the clean cut? So he's saying because he's innocent looking, it's troublesome because they always assume he's kinky. Is that what I'm getting from it?
No,
they assume his physical appearance mirrored his personality. This is what I'm struggling with this question.
That he is a clean-cut, innocent-looking person.
So they assume
he's wanting. It is confusing because and so people are just assuming that that's who he is. So then he went to something a little more extreme, but he's also not really.
FetLife.
But it's like a little step. It sounds like it's a little further beyond where he's at. So he's kind of in this in between.
I think he seems confused though, and I think he just needs to be more concise with his description of what he's looking for.
More straightforward.
Yes.
Like you can even say that in your description. Like, I know I may look like I'm really innocent and clean cut, but
I care about my appearance.
Yeah.
And I'm looking for someone that's open to blah, 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 blah.
You could say sex positive. Like I consider myself a really sex positive.
Define what sex positive is too.
Open-minded person, sexually adventurous. I've seen dating profiles of men who say like I'm interested in people who are LGBT or kink friendly. And so just being more clear in there, like your picture can say one thing, and sites like Tinder and things like that, which you didn't even name, you tried. People will just base it on your looks and not even read the description. But all these other ones, they're much more description based, and just be more clear about where you're at and what it is that you're looking for. And if they pass that up, then that's on them. That's not on you.
And there's the age-old rule about ask for what you want. You will get what you want. If you don't kind of get specific, sometimes it could get blurred. So it's always better to sort of be concise. And with the sex positive portion of that, perhaps if there's something specific, if you're just into folks that are open and excited about whatever you're into, just say that you're super into whatever it is you're into and open to maybe explore more.
Yeah, and I think also if you're on FetLife and you're dating people and you're very clear what their kink is, because on FetLife people are very clear about what their kink is usually. I wouldn't date people who have a kink that you're like not, or if you know you're not on board for it and they're already clear about what their kink is, then I would be clear with them before you actually go on the date with them, or find people that have a kink that is in alignment with you. And here, so you know, one last thing. There are sex positive dating apps. They don't have a ton of people on them, but they are available.
Do you know any of them? I don't know what they
have. There's like all these ones. If it depends what you're into. There's like #open. There's and there's like for people who are female identified. There's, I think it's called Her. Go Google sex positive dating apps, and it will show you a whole list of ones that are more sex positive. Be more clear in your description. Go to events in your city, like go to meetup.com and look for sex positive events like Tantra and all these things that if that's what you're into. And go hang out with other like-minded people. There's Munches if you're kinky.
Workshops.
Yeah, go take a sex ed workshop.
He's located in an area that has shops with workshops. There are many main cities around the country, if domestic United States I'm speaking of, that have those. So
in the domestic United States.
I'm speaking maybe domestically right
Alabama,
now. I don't know.
I don't know about the state of Alabama. All right, everyone, I'm going to dive into the bio, and we'll dive into the podcast, and April will listen, and you all get to hear me flirt shamelessly with Erin Alexander on the air. I think it's the first podcast where I've been like, just as a single person, shamelessly flirting with someone.
Why don't we make an Erin sandwich next time?
Yeah, Erin sandwich.
Let's just go. I know he has a lot of acronyms after his name, too.
Ooh, the A-team.
Yeah.
Oh, you went out. We sound so creepy right now.
Sorry, Erin. If you're listening to this, I can't wait to hear your interview with Amy and Amy with him.
All right, so I'm going to read the bio, but before we read the bio, so this podcast is made possible by Audible Escape. Audible Escape offers unlimited listening to thousands of love stories that have the ability to whisk you away no matter where you are.
I'm already an avid Audible user, as I can listen to just about anything I want while I'm on the go. And now with Audible's newest offering, I can escape from a chaotic day with a heartwarming love story. I'm currently deep into Jane Austen's romantic classic, Sense and Sensibility. I can't help but get lost in the timeless tale of love, romance, and, unfortunately, some heartbreak. But the narrator's voice is sexy British accent. You know I love that, Amy.
Yes, you do. And guess what? It's free to try for your first month and then only $12.95 a month after. Download the app and fill your life with more love. Visit audible.com/shameless to get started. That's audible.com/shameless. If you love love, you'll love Audible Escape. Go check it out. And without further ado, Erin Alexander, yes, he's beautiful. He's also CRLMT CPT. Those are his acronyms, or his little, you call those acronyms?
I think so,
They stand for,
they're certifications.
Yes, certifications.
They are acronyms.
He's a rolfer. He is an author. He's an accomplished manual therapist and movement coach with over 13 years of professional experience. He is the founder of the Align Method, trademark, an integrated approach to functional movement and self-care that has helped thousands of people out of pain and into health. He hosts the top-rated Align podcast featuring the biggest names in movement and wellness. Aaron's clients include Hollywood celebrities, Olympic professional athletes, Amy Marie Baldwin. It doesn't say that, but I threw that in there. And everyone in between. He wants to have an April and Amy sandwich. And he teaches workshops and speaks at events all over the world. Check out Aaron's offerings at alignpodcast.com. Are you ready, Chip?
I can't wait for the AAA sandwich. Let's go.
You can almost tell when someone is a game player because they will lead with, I don't want to play any games.
Yeah.
And
you're like,
oh,
fuck. Yeah, you're doing it. Yeah,
We gotta get out of this.
So how do you do? I mean, so I guess my question is, what do you feel like you play? Because you're single, single-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Single-ish. I'd say,
Single-ish.
yeah. Presently, pretty darn single.
Oh,
yeah.
pretty darn single.
Yeah.
As single-ish and so pretty darn single
Yeah.
in the single world. How do you play games? Do you see ways that you do it, or if you don't, how do you avoid it? Like, how do you not fall into it?
I think the primary game that I've played over the last, probably all throughout my 20s. I'm in early 30-dom presently. And I don't think that I've been emotionally available enough to really be honest and show up in a complete way with a partner. Mm-hmm. And then I also at the same time kind of feel as though I like thinking of people as almost like we're like I got this from somebody else, but like we're like codes,
Mm-hmm.
So like I have this specific set of codes that is Aaron,
Mm-hmm.
And you have your own set of codes that is Amy,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes when you come together with someone else, your codes match theirs in such a way that you unlock different things that you never would have accessed by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm pretty darn sure that I've predominantly sabotaged my potential to create any meaningful connection with a female over the last 8 years out of fear of, abandonment or injuring my heart.
Yeah. It's
and so I kind of close up. And now in the last recent, and so I would end up kind of superimposing over top of all that stuff. I would put on top of extreme mountain climbing and surfing and traveling and Dos Equis man kind of lifestyle to just show you I am enough.
The most fascinating man.
The most fascinating man in the world, but I won't actually show you any true expression of my heart.
Yeah. Are you starting to show that now? Yeah.
Yeah, now it's the coolest. Now that is the Dos Equis man.
Yeah.
It's that's the mountain to climb. That's the biggest wave to surf is just being emotionally vulnerable with the female.
Yeah.
So that feels the most exciting to me presently, and the most rewarding.
So what would you say to men? Because I find that super refreshing. What would you say to men who are having a hard time doing that? It's really scary to show their vulnerability. And how do you have any tips on what worked for you to be able to start doing that, or to see that as the way, or
I think
good route?
so I'm still in process. I think oftentimes when people talk about things, they talk about it as though, especially in podcast land, it's we talk about it as though we're these transcended beings.
Oh, definitely. Not.
Back when I was dealing with shit,
Yeah.
I'm
Still dealing
smack
with it.
dab
Yeah.
in that. So that's as far as giving. I don't have any advice to give, that's for sure. But it's just, in my experience, it's not, at some point you're going to die.
Mm-hmm.
And at that moment, you'll look back, and I think the thing that's the most relevant is how open and honest and what kind of cherishable experiences did you have with others?
Yeah.
Or were you partially contracting all your sphincters, including your heart, because you weren't really sure about, what could be. It's that sensation, just kind of stoic philosophy kind of thing, going into the future and looking back, kind of giving myself advice as a 70-year-old man, looking back, okay, what do you want to tell to Aaron now? I think I'm pretty darn sure that would be the wisdom that I would get from 70-year-old Aaron.
Yeah. Yeah.
At some point, if there's anything to regret, it would be that I was too afraid to love in the moment and too afraid to be vulnerable with somebody else.
Yeah.
If that doesn't lead to some romantic relate, that's fine.
Yeah.
But when you go into a grocery store and you're attracted to a person or whatever, and you're too afraid that they might say no or embarrass you or something like that, so you just walk on with your day.
Yeah.
That's by far the most painful experience for me.
Yeah.
Someone shutting me down is like almost rewarding in a way.
Is rewarding.
Yeah.
So you're saying
I can move on from it.
The painful part is you missing out on the opportunity, not putting yourself out there.
Absolutely, because then you just go through all the
I shoulda
yeah,
done this.
that's the subjunctive form is a fancy way of saying that, I believe. So in I think Vietnam, I'm pretty sure it's Vietnamese. They don't have the subjunctive form of language. So should have. If I was there, I would have.
Yeah,
I would have picked him up by the neck and that.
Yeah.
You go through all these things of what I would have done. But it's interesting how our language forms us that way.
Yeah.
Our
regret language.
Oh yeah, and that's just all bullshit. Every udav that you have is just all bullshit. It's
Yeah.
literally just a little anchor that you pick up and you carry around. So we have that language, so it potentially kind of like brainwashes us in such a way. So I think we have to make like an extra effort to just live in such a way that udav just is not even a thing.
Yeah, and I think that speaking to it too. I had this experience when I was talking about this a little bit earlier in all of our listeners. Yes, we as podcasters, I don't think I ever give off. Well, I can't say ever. I try not to give off the idea that I have everything figured out. I've been clear with my listeners that as someone who talks about sex constantly for a living as an educator, and yet for the last 2.5 years I've had this thing where it felt like my sex drive and my connection to my body was just like off, or on the dimmer switch was stuck on low.
Yeah.
And so upon becoming single, I had more spaciousness, but it still wasn't cranking on. I actually didn't want anything to do with men. I was like, I don't want anything to do with their process. It's just keep them away. I just want to be with like lady friends, guy friends, family. If I take on another man's process right now, I'm gonna probably punch him in the face. Probably wouldn't do that, but I just don't have room because I needed to have room just for me at that point.
That's good.
And then I had this experience when I went to Sex Geek summer camp. It's a real thing for sex nerds who all go to like a literal camp, and they're wearing short shorts, and by day they're learning about how to be better sex educators and how to promote their business. And by night it's like play parties and massage parties and people just hanging out and bonfires and everything you would think would happen at Sex Geek summer camp. And it's wonderful, and I get sent there on behalf of Uber Lube because they sponsor the event. And there was this man there that I connected with, and I could tell that it was very safe. I could tell that he really respected me, that he really was attracted to me, and that we had a deep connection as we got to know each other. But he wasn't trying to pounce on me or make any moves. But I could just feel it. I could feel that he was like very intrigued by me, and that there was a connection there. And on the second day, we sat in this field, in this beautiful field with trees all around. And we did a little. It was Rome, but it's like hape in the fields, and which is a tobacco snuff. That I'm not going to get too deep into explaining what that is. And I had this download of and my body was shaking about how terrified I am of intimacy. From going from being in a relationship 5.5 years, and granted, we did some open relationship stuff. We broke up a lot. It's not like I didn't have experiences with other people during that. But I think from leaving a relationship that I needed to leave, and now was so had this wall up, including with my sexuality, but also with my heart. And I could feel like my body shaking, and it's just when that vulnerable space spoke to it, said, "I'm terrified of intimacy." I said this to him. I can tell I'm terrified of intimacy. I have this big stainless steel cage on that is preventing me to get close with anyone. I don't want it anymore. I know why it's here. I don't want this to be here. And I just want to be close, but I don't know how. And I'm so sick of this thing being up, but I'm so afraid. And he just said, I could tell he could handle it, right? It's not every man, a lot of men I know can't handle that. I'd say that, and they'd be like, what, all right, what am I going to do with that, And those are the men that I am not interested in being intimate with. I'm interested in being intimate with people that can hold my vulnerability and they don't have to do anything with it, right? It's just like, okay, yeah.
That's very confusing for men, I think.
Of course, super confusing. They're like, I need to fix.
I have a hammer in my hand.
I need to do something.
We got schematics.
Yes, totally.
Let's do it.
So what he said was, I totally get that, and it's there for a reason. And why do people need to rush anything or get anything from someone? Yes, we have desire, we want something from someone, but he was like, why do people need to move fast? Why can't we just enjoy the slowness of getting to know one another? And then I felt my body just like, oh, okay. And so I appreciated that from the masculine. I appreciated having someone say, yeah, I want and desire you. And I'm also not in a rush to get from point A to point B. And he did say also, I want to get to know all of you. So like the internal parts of Amy and how Amy works before I get to know all of you, the physical parts of Amy. And that is also felt so important. I don't think a lot of women receive that from men.
Yeah.
A lot of men just want to fuck them as soon as possible.
How does one start working on their capacity for intimacy?
To like let go of drop their guard and have more openness for intimacy.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, I'll say from that experience is speaking to it. Not pretending like I have it all together.
Right.
Not beating around the bush. Yeah, that could go a lot of ways. But not to own it, to be like, I have this thing. It's scary. I don't want it. I don't know what to do. If you have any tips, I'm open to them, or maybe I'm not open to it, but I just want you to hear me and to know, and maybe you can give me some reassurance that you're not trying to just take from me, and if you are, then awesome. Let's just be friends and not go down that route. So I think it's just like it's owning it, and hopefully other people can take it in, and if they can't, they're not for me. They're not for me.
How'd things go with the dude?
Awesome.
Good.
I ended up still, in that moment, I still didn't have my desire back. But that night, I participated. We had like this big massage party, so everyone got really high on oxytocin. It wasn't erotic massage, but it was like full body massage minus genitals. And then 4 of us in our group, including him and 2 other people. One identifies as a woman, one uses they and them pronouns. We decided we all want to stay together because we were super high in oxytocin.
Yeah.
And we built a little bed in front of the playroom. The playroom has a bunch of mattresses and like sex machines, and you hear people flogging and all kinds of wild stuff happening in there. And we put a little bed because we want to be outside under the moon and the stars. And we all just let our hands just glide all over each other, and no one was trying to put hands in pants. Like I could tell, and we didn't even talk about that. I could just tell that everyone just wanted everyone to feel good and safe and like get high off all of the touch. And long story short, I went in there with a story. I've talked about this on my podcast too. I went in there with a story. Amy is very straight. I played with women in the past. Was never really my jam.
Right.
Amy also doesn't like tickling. I don't find it erotic. I don't find it enjoyable. In this experience, at one point, I had one woman next to me. She was wrapping her fingers. She was touching this other person next to her and had her fingers that she was dominantly putting in my mouth and sucking on her fingers, while this wonderful man that I'm getting to know is making out with my armpit. And I was like, as his mouth starts going, I'm like, I'm going to hate that. I'm going to hate that. And all of a sudden, it just feels amazing. And he's just following the thread because he's just listening to like paying attention to my body.
Yeah.
And I just am sucking on this woman's fingers. I'm super straight, loving sucking on her fingers. Have this man in my armpit that the ticklish part turns into just pure pleasure. He stays there for like half an hour and I'm just like going crazy. And then at one point, this woman turns around, she dominantly grabs my face and starts kissing me. And I felt more turn on than I had in a long time. And it stayed on. It went full force since then. This was over a month ago. My sex drive's just been, I don't even know what to do with it. I'm like humping the couch at home. What do I do? Is this what it's like to be horny? Oh my God, I forgot about this. And since then, he and I have become, lovers and are just really just getting to know each other. We're not in, a committed partnership, but we're lovers and continuing to follow that. And it's just been incredible.
Yeah. I think have you ever heard the Ram Dass quote? He says, you got to remember your Social Security number and your Buddha nature.
Shit, I don't remember my Social Security.
You got to balance. No, you got to be able to balance both of them at the same time. I think that like there is value to you having some degree of like an ego construct and your stories and like having your story in order.
Yeah, but not getting like too.
But not being so attached to it that you're not able to actually wander beyond that.
Yeah, that you get really limited, and I would have been limited too in having these experiences. I left that like wow. A lot of the things not everything, but a lot of things I think of myself as a sexual being are just stories that I've been attached to. And when I get out of my own way, there's so much available. It's like it's endless.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful. I'm just like feel so alive and turned on.
What have you found to be available?
Oh God, it's endless. I mean, been doing some things since then. I have more desire now to go to play party environments. I have more desire now to explore with women, only in ways that it feels really safe. And I, of course, if I'm really turned on, I'm not going to do it for the male gaze. I think that's why I used to do it in the past, and that's why it didn't feel good for me.
Yeah.
Now it's, if I'm in that turn on, a body can just be a body, and as long as there's respect and safety, and shared pleasure, then I'm feeling more open to it. I'm more open to, I've learned more about my body in the last month, of like all these parts of my body, but also because I'm playing with someone who's just following the thread and not trying to get to a certain place.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I like, the middle of the pit of my elbow and like the back of my knee, and who knew, and my armpits are apparently a thing.
How do men detect this with a woman or a man or whatever?
Presence, and getting rid of goals and ideas about techniques and where you need to go, and it's just paying attention, following the thread. So you have to have already a strong practice and presence. And so, I mean, you're a meditator, so you probably already have that, and carrying that over into sex and slowness, because when you're moving really fast, like it serves a time and place, moving really fast. And there's sometimes someone just wants to be fucked, right?
Yeah.
But that's when they're super turned on, and you've already done a lot of the warm up. And sometimes people can get there in 2 minutes, but I can say that my body usually doesn't get there in 2 minutes. But yeah, it's paying attention, but with presence, and not paying attention with insecurity and stories and technique, and getting out of your own way again. Just listening, like, okay, as I put my mouth here, they're making more noise, or their body's shaking. And I think there's an attunement piece there too. Where it probably isn't always available for everyone. Like, you can be as present as you want, but if your beings aren't really attuned, because not everyone is, then maybe that's not as available.
What about environment?
Environment, totally. Yeah, makes a big difference. But safety, I will say, is, if I can speak for myself, environment can make things sexier or juicier or yummier, but also there's some environments that feel safer, right?
Yeah.
When I feel safe, then I can be more present, because I'm not in my head about, am I worried about X, Y, and Z? And I mean, for me right now, safety is a really, really big thing. And when I say safe, I'm talking about like emotional, and physical safety, but emotional safety. Like if the minute I detect someone's trying to go somewhere really quickly or take, I'm literally shutting them down and lovingly walking away. It's just,
Right.
I'm just not, and it doesn't mean that I don't want to go places. It's just I want to have experiences where people really, or it's a mutual sharing. Even if they're like the dominant one doing most of the things for 80% of the time, there's still this mutuality there.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I recently had that experience with having excessive expectations with a person.
That you had the expectations, or
I
they
was
did?
the
You did.
expectation person.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. And then I literally, like, to a T, because there was only like 4 days with this person. And I was
Yeah.
like, well, we should be hooking up.
Yeah, we got to do all the things.
Yeah.
Limited time. Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure. Well, actually, no. I with this person, I'm not sure if that would have been the case. But that's okay. Regardless. What I did was exactly what you're describing, is like shut down any potential of any greater connection from manifesting, because I had my linear timeline of kind of like, okay, day 1, this is kind of what it looks like. Day 2, okay, we're here.
Yeah.
So I have this story of what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And then there's like the reality of being present with the person. And as long as there was that conflict there, which there was, then just the other side, the other person, they're just going to shut down and protect.
Yeah, because they're feeling it, even if you're not. I mean, you're not speaking to it probably, or were you?
I spoke to it too.
You did,
all the things.
So,
Like, this is where I'm at.
Yeah.
This
So,
is
but
what's
you're saying,
happening.
like, I realize I have expectations here.
Oh yeah.
But they're here.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Taking full responsibility of, like, this is just my own childish bullshit.
Yeah.
And I had this kind of story of what I would have liked, and expectations. It's not appropriate, but nonetheless, like, here we are.
Yeah. Well, and then what's helpful too, if you have expectations, talk about them beforehand to get clear. If you have some lady come in to visit you for 4 days, and I think no matter what, to get clear on that would be a smart idea. Hey, as we're spending time, or do we have expectations of what that time needs to look like? And it could be, if we're not on the same page, then maybe we can change the time spent together, or maybe we can deflate, pop the bubble of whatever those expectations are that we have, or we think we need.
What are the turnoffs that you get from guys?
Like me being turned off by them.
Yeah.
I don't love bros. I don't like bro mentality. Like broy. And when I say bros, like I mean I love, but like you're. I'm not saying your body, like your body type is gorgeous. Everyone on my podcast, you should probably go look at our Instagram as we post this, so you know the image of what we're talking about. And he has his shirt off. It's quite nice. He's got some nice chest hair, big muscles.
It's very sweet. Of you.
Yes, and
It's
your
sunny
face
outside.
too. Your face is beautiful.
Oh, wow.
I actually have some lady friends. It's a total tangent, but they're like, "Do you know Aaron Alexander?" It's like, yes, I do. I record a podcast. Oh my God, he's amazing.
Wow.
They listen to your podcast.
That's helpful
Yeah.
with my validation.
Yes.
My immature bullshit.
Well, they like the
validation
things
stuff.
that you say, and they also like the images of you too. So it seems like
But nonetheless, the images are in part still fall back. Like I was at the I don't want to interrupt, but
Yeah, no.
one of the big things I was at the Tony Robbins event. I just got back a couple days ago, and one of the primary things from that was looking at like your value systems. So like he breaks down like 6 values. I don't know if that's his originally, but nonetheless, I'd be curious what yours are actually. The first 2 are certainty. So being sure about stuff. Second one was uncertainty.
These are yours?
No, these are the 6.
Oh,
in
these
total.
are just the 6 in general.
Yeah.
They're not in order, but you choose your
These
order.
these are in order from the way that they present them,
Okay.
and then you break them down into like, okay, what are my top 2?
Yeah.
So certainty, and then uncertainty, so novelty, and then love and connection is another one, and then significance, and then growth, and then contribution.
Okay.
Do you remember what those were, Ish?
Yes.
Were there 2 that
I mean, the
stood out
ones
for
that
you?
stand out is love and connection, and what was the 5th one? It wasn't significance. It was what came after significance.
For you, my guess would probably be either growth, love,
Growth.
connection, or contribution.
Yeah,
Those are like the kind of the money spots.
Yeah, and I'm a caretaker
ideally.
too, so it's those 3. Yeah.
Yeah.
Significance isn't really that. Yeah.
It's bullshit.
I mean, I'm not saying it's not. I'm just.
But
it's
it's
not
a thing.
huge. It's
It's
there.
pretty there.
It's there, but it's not like the primary thing running the show. It is. For,
Well,
yeah.
so I would like to believe that was the case for me and still is, but I'm pretty darn sure significance has been a driving force of a good part of my life.
Yeah.
And it's ironic because as long as you're driving towards it, and I just say this in relation to like shirt off and all that stuff.
Yeah.
That's like my kind of little bullshit way of like showing significance.
Yeah. Look at me.
Yeah,
I'm
woo,
beautiful.
right.
I'm big. Yeah.
I'm
Well,
special because
and
I
I have
have
that.
tits or whatever.
I have a question about that because my ex-partner has his physique is very, very important to him, and he has this like big, strong physique. You might be a little. He has been your size at some point. When he looks at you, you're probably like his ideal thing that he would want for himself. But to me, in the past 5.5 years, he was always, I called him like hippie ripped, and sometimes he was just like massive ripped.
Hippie ripped is good.
Hippie ripped,
Pro
yeah.
hippie ripped.
But he always wanted it to be, bigger, and had this idea that it was never enough, kind of.
It's all cultural crap.
Cultural
Stories.
and so my question, and I actually talked to him about this, is this is my belief is, and I'll put this out there, and this might be putting you on the spot, but I feel like you've talked about this on your podcast before. I think I heard you talk about this. No, I saw a post that you did on Instagram. Can anyone that is that physical perfection is so important to them, is there any way that they don't have self-love issues, right? Don't they kind of go hand in hand, that there's a something there around self-love and worthiness that we are, that for those folks where the perfection of their, and I'm sorry if I feel like I'm pointing a finger at you now.
No, you're not. Please point away.
But when I see people who it's so important to them to be this like perfect specimen, and their life is so designed around it, I just wonder, what's hurting inside that makes it so that you need to, this is so important to you.
There's different flavors of it.
Yeah.
So it's not about what you do, it's why you do it. And so within that, the place that I have come from has been that, essentially seeking validation and significance through showing you that I'm strong enough and whatever.
Sexy.
All those things, yeah. And from there, you can get to a point that ideally everybody, including myself, arrives at, where you just take joy in the process of cultivating something beautiful.
Yeah.
And like that's the goal is
Yeah.
to get to it. And so that's like what my, the book I'm doing is about essentially. The editors actually brought up like an interesting idea that I thought was cool that I didn't see. They're like, this book's about bringing joy into your movement.
Oh, you didn't even see that.
I'm like,
yeah.
oh yeah, totally.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's about
Yeah.
like you can you can infuse joy into your being
Yeah.
in the way that you inhabit yourself, and in such a way that you, as you move through the world, you're cultivating a system that's beautiful to look at and be in. You can do that.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
Or you can just genuinely enjoy the experience of Arnold Schwarzenegger talking about he smokes weed and works out and pumps blood into his muscles and it feels like he's coming.
Yes, I just
It's
keep
I'm
coming and
all day.
coming.
Yeah, he's like, cool, Arnold loves
Yeah.
to come all day. That's totally
They're
fine.
getting us from pumping iron.
Yeah, I was actually sitting beside his son at the Tony event.
Oh, really?
It was Patrick.
Does he have the same accent?
Who's out there? Not at all. Yeah, not at all. So it's just, there's just two. And I think you already know this, but I think there's different roads you can go down with it, and ideally we can all get to the point where I enjoy sweeping the house.
Yeah.
But I don't do it because of any kind of weird pathological bacteria. Well, it's no, I just like to kind of organize it. It makes me feel well.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm closer to than ever before, but there's still little tatters of bullshit interlaced
so
throughout.
for you, it's that they had this old way of being that this is something that is coming more from a wounding or hurt place, and it's transforming and shifting into this other place, and you still see the ways that you're there's little ties, but it's moving into this. So how does someone switch that?
Well, I think you just
buy your book. That's how you
buy the book.
Yeah.
Buy the book.
What is it called?
The Align Method.
The Align Method. When is it going to be out?
December.
Okay, so this will be out before.
This guy.
Yeah. Okay.
It's
well,
all, it's all good.
evergreen
Don't worry
product
about
though. So December 2019.
Boom.
The
Yeah,
Align
exactly.
Method.
We'll do that thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
How does one do? I think you bang your head up against the wall enough times that it hurts so much that you have to create change.
Something's gotta give.
Is one avenue.
Yeah. Just wow, I'm so done with this process.
Yeah. I think that there's a lot of resistance in the world around. And one could misconstrue the stuff that I get into to be oh, you're not able to go into a folded over position because that makes you depressed or dumb or accessing negative, in quotations, memories, whatever. I'm not saying that at all. I think you should go as deep into that fetal position and into the darkness as feels appropriate, and allow that bubble to pop. So you can come out of that and be okay, I experienced all the way into the darkness, and now I can come back and be there's no kind of curious what ifs. We do that with homosexuality as men as well, I think.
Yeah.
There's I think a lot of men express homophobia because they're actually kind of curious if they might be a little bit gay.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah. Wait, how do I handle this? Because I'm not supposed to feel this way.
Yeah. I'm not saying that every guy needs to go bang another guy, but nonetheless, being open, if something feels appropriate for you, if you have that preconceived notion or story of who you are and what it means to be a man and all that stuff, if you're feeling something that feels honest and feels true and it's kind of coming through, and you shut that down based off of your notion of what you think you're supposed to be, very likely you'll live your life in a knot. You know, so the sooner that you can open yourself up to those experiences of what feels to be true, the sooner you can. Each one of those is an opportunity to kind of loosen those binds in that knot.
Yeah.
And each time you choose to divert away from that and go back to story, you just pull the knot tighter.
Yeah.
I think.
Or you just go and experience more anal. Open your right
Or
up.
you go to uberlube.com.
Go to uberlube.
Get a 15% discount.
With coupon code.
Amy just flashed me.
I know, I did. I'm not wearing underwear, so that's why I put a pillow here. And I was I need to go cross-legged. If you want to do some acrobats? Sure, but I don't have underwear on.
Oh, you're supposed to do the acro.
I know, I noticed that. I was we missed that.
Did you know that rats, when they are touched for just a few days, they're tickled?
Wait,
they
what?
get
They get
rats
tickled?
and they get tickled. These are scientists, creepy
The
researchers are
scientists
tickling
tickle the rats.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah. They actually end up experiencing neurogenesis, the creation of new neurons. So it's literally just the process of being touched and contacted and all those things. I'm touching Amy's legs
Yes,
right
you're
now.
touching
We're
my
doing
legs right
deep,
now.
awkward
It's
eye
very
contact.
close. It's
very-
not that awkward.
Well, for some it might
It's fun
be.
with microphones, though.
Yeah, I know, it's different. That'd be a good photo.
Say, where's our photographer?
Goddamn modern millennial bullshit. Oh, photo. This is a photo moment. What about before there were photos? When you just have moments and you're not like, you won't have a whisper in the back of your mind like, oh, we should have a camera right now.
Yeah, I'm not going to be present because I'm going to think about how we should have a camera.
Have cameras?
Soon we'll just have a little button we can always press because everyone needs to take a selfie everywhere we go.
Do you have a selfie stick?
No, I do not.
Oh, I do.
Yeah, you do? Actually, I'm not surprised. I'm seeing your Instagram photos. It's like, how does he get all those shots?
Yeah.
Does he have a selfie stick?
I haven't used it for a while. For a little good while.
Not judging.
I'm strange about the radiation with the phone. So I actually liked the selfie stick because it created separation between the phone and my hand.
You do keep your phone in your pocket close to your huevos?
Airplane mode all the time.
Oh, you're one of those.
I try to protect the huevos. The underwear I'm wearing right now actually have huevos protecting.
What is it, the brand?
What are they called?
It's not the MeUndies thing. No.
These are called Faraday's.
Oh, okay. I've never heard of that.
Yeah.
But they protect you from all the
They've got
things.
silver laced huevo protecting technology
Are you sponsored by
in
them?
and around my nutsack. I've been.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because that was great advertisement.
Presently, but you asked.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. I'm like, well, we don't talk about names.
Yeah. We can't drop names here.
I need $1 million.
This protects my huevos.
Plus, protect the huevos.
It's important. Yeah. You got to protect your delicate huevos.
Okay, y'all, time for a quick break. This podcast is made possible by some of our favorite things. Uberlube is one of them. It's a luxurious lubricant great for all kinds of sex. It's less likely to throw off your pH than most other lubes. Seriously? There are hundreds of doctors who recommend Uberlube to their patients, whether they want to make their hot sex even hotter or for folks who are experiencing dryness. Amy, I know you love Uberlube too. What do you love?
I love Uberlube because it has no flavor, no scent, and it feels absolutely amazing on my body. In fact, I want it everywhere. I even use it in my hair for my hair frizzies, for massage, and it can also prevent chafing. Oh, and the bottle is gorgeous. It's discreet and looks like a beautiful cosmetic product, so you can leave it on your nightstand shamelessly. To learn why we think it's the best lube on the planet, go check out uberlube.com. Use coupon code SHAMELESSSEX and you get 10% off and free shipping. Again, that's uberlube.com, code SHAMELESSSEX and 10% off and free shipping.
This podcast was also made possible by OMGS.com. OMGS is a research-based online program that helps you add more sexy things to your menu. OMGS studied thousands of vulva owners to find out how they orgasm and then made tasteful and inspiring short videos to show you techniques on how to pleasure yourself or another vulva. Amy, tell us why you love OMGS.
I've been recommending OMGS to my clients for years, and it has changed their lives. Whether you're already having good orgasms and want to have even better orgasms, or perhaps you want to explore more variety in your playtime, or even learn how to pleasure someone else's vulva, OMGS will have something for you. With 2 seasons, one all about internal and the other all about external techniques, it's better than any book or DVD that money can buy. To learn more, visit omgs.com/shameless, and our listeners get $5 off. That's omgs.com/shameless. You get $5 off. Go check it out now. And back to the show.
Have you ever felt significance in your existence?
Significance?
As being a primary driver?
And you mean in driving my own ship?
Yeah.
Yes.
Did you feel, because I think that you are honest and correct in like your primary drivers being the ones that you said. I think that I would be in more denial and like to lead. I think especially in like podcasty, social media, everybody's a brand, like all the things.
Yeah.
It's more appropriate to lead with, like my thing is contribution.
Yeah.
Like that's what I care most about. Because that's like on brand with your thing.
Totally.
But meanwhile, we're masking contribution and masking connection and love with deep down need to be seen and significant.
Totally.
I think the sooner we can be honest with that, the sooner we can start to unwind it.
I mean, I can't say that it's not there, but one example I will have is, so April and I get emails every day from listeners saying things like, you helped save my marriage, or thanks to you, I love my body again, or I found my sex drive, or I finally had, a threesome, or whatever that is they're having something that is just complete gratitude and praise. And for us, for both of us, we're on the same page. It just touches our hearts, and maybe we might even be dodging the full ability to take all of it into, because we have a moment like, oh my God, that's so sweet. And sometimes we'll read them on the air, but I can tell for both of us there isn't, and I'm not gonna say that it isn't there at all, but there isn't this like power of like, yes, I'm famous and I'm awesome and I'm changing the world. It's just like, oh my, that feels so nourishing to be able to provide that.
Yeah.
Of course, it feels good to walk to places like at a trade show and there's all these people that know our podcast and want to give us hugs and getting that praise. So I can't say that that's not there. It's probably not the primary motivation for doing this or for a lot of the other things that I do.
Yeah.
But I do feel like in podcasting I've found more of my purpose, and feels really, really, really good.
I think all of them also have a time and a place. Like there's a time where certainty, it's okay for that to be the most important thing in your life, or novelty, or any one of those.
Yeah.
I don't think we always just need to be like spiritual, white light, transcended beings that are just here for growth and connection and contribution.
Sounds boring.
Yeah.
I love me some sacred, but I love playing with the profane. Like bring in the weird and like the lightness, and I don't want to always. I want to work on myself often, and I also want to enjoy the just being in the all. And I love like the silly and the play that comes with that. Isn't just like I am a healed being.
Something that was interesting in relation to the event as well was in relation to the value system stuff was if you're not with another person that shares those top 2-ish values, then it'll be a very challenging relationship.
I bet. Well, it speaks to my last relationship of 5.5 years.
Yeah. What were his values?
Significance is really, really, really important, and obviously we're talking about like the physique and things like that. So, I think that's a bigger one. And love and connection also is big for him too. I think the significance thing I will say is probably one thing that was very different for us. It was so important, his significance and his being in his power and in his purpose and being witnessed and seen. Part of our breakup was around there's so many reasons, but I felt like I was constantly being told that I wasn't seeing him, I wasn't understanding him, I wasn't meeting him, I wasn't there, I wasn't emotionally there. Was all these things, and there was some truth to it, definitely in some ways. And for me, it also felt like a bottomless pit that no matter what I did, I couldn't get there for him.
No.
And maybe someone can, but I couldn't or cannot or
You didn't
will
have
not.
The code.
I didn't have the code.
Not the right code.
And we
to
had all
match up.
like so many other codes, but I didn't
You
have
great
the code to do. I have a
You
great
got
code.
Solid code.
Thanks for complimenting my code. Yeah.
Wait, no.
Yes. Yeah.
He's got a great code.
His like code, everyone. They're like, Melissa's like, okay, wait, what are you? Are you guys just like flirting? Are you guys still podcasting? I think that's a big thing too. So it's, and I understand it. I guess if I'm with someone where significance is important to them, and of course part of that would be their partner needs to see them and let them know how much they love them, or how you give them praise and appreciation authentically.
Yep.
I can totally do that, but when it feels like it is endless and that it needs to happen 8 million times a day for every little thing, I don't have the capacity, I think.
There's another code out there to crack it.
Some other codes,
Yeah,
some other codes doing it. Someone else is just like a praising machine, like
The other thing that was interesting, I'm like excited to talk about all this stuff because I literally just got back like 2 nights ago.
Yeah.
So thanks for entertaining.
Talk away.
These concepts that are happening.
My listeners are like,
with
ooh,
the
this
event.
is refreshing.
Yeah. But so the other thing that I found interesting in relation to the significance is people's attachment, i.e. me, attachment to their painful story and painful background and painful history and how my life sucks so much, and it's like when we're in that victim mentality and we're attached to that story of being a victim, an interesting reframe was like, that's your expression of significance. My pain is greater than your pain. I promise
the hierarchy
you.
of
Just
pain.
so you know,
Yeah.
I know you've experienced some things, but it's not like mine.
Yeah, not like mine. Mine's way worse. Yeah.
And so for me to lose that, it's like my pain becomes like my religion in a way. And then you start kind of pulling strings on somebody's religion, like something they've based their last 30 years around.
Their whole story.
They'll get a gun.
Yeah. Like, no,
they
I'm
get
attached
real.
to
They're
this
like,
thing.
no.
Yeah, I need this thing.
And so I thought that was an interesting thing of just like, okay, yeah, like it's just fascinating how we paint our lives. Like there's like 3 sides of the story. There's like my side, your side, and the truth. It's like impossible. It's impossible not to paint the world in front of you.
Yeah.
With your own stuff.
Well, it's how we. Otherwise, how do we exist here? How do we? If we don't have that identity that we're looking for and in our perception of whatever that is, then like, what do you have?
You meditate much?
I do, yeah. I go through waves. Like I started meditating in 2012, meditated regularly until early 2017. It was, you know what? When my sex drive left, so did meditation for a little while, and I'd bring it back, and I would have like good weeks and not so great weeks, and so maybe there was like some correlation there as well. But I mean, obviously, I just wasn't really feeling that connected to my body, and sitting and meditating felt like a lot of work, and it wasn't helping me to get in my body either. I tried like erotic meditations and all these things. So now in all this space of having more spaciousness has become a regular practice.
You ever tried Vipassana, the 10-day thing?
I've done a 5-day before. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
How was it? How was that?
It was awesome. The one I went to was kind of like a little more. It was actually a Zen thing. There was a Zen teacher there, so it was a Vipassana, style from insight meditation. But they brought in one of the Zen teachers from Tassajara and the Zen Center in San Francisco. So there's all these Zen people doing Zen style, where there's all the rest of us other like Vipassana folks who had our eyes closed and they had their eyes half open. And those always helped me to, when I leave there, then I'm like deep in my practice.
I think both have value, because I prefer Vipassana meditation. That's like there's like one, mainly just because that's like what my experience is. I'm sure there's other ones that if I had greater experience, I'd be like, that's the one.
Yeah, totally.
But that happens to be the one that I've I've been a part of the most. And so I like the eyes closed a lot. And I think there's a lot of value in having a consistent practice of eyes open meditation, mainly just when you're around like shit that you consider to be boring.
Yeah. You're like, I could just meditate right now.
Like this isn't where I need to be at all.
Knows.
But
I
can do a 45-minute meditation.
You have to be able to really tune out all this. That's a skill, tuning out all the sounds and things. So I enjoyed it when I've sat and done Zen meditations. And I also don't like rigidity though. Things that are like, you have to do it this way at this time. Right foot forward. I like a little more spaciousness for, I'll still sit upright and, I'm not like, I just need to lay down and be comfortable while I meditate. But I like when there's a little more spaciousness, and Zen kind of isn't that. Yeah. So I have enjoyed it for sure, but it wouldn't be like my primary choice.
For women that are experiencing, or men, they're experiencing lower libido, what do you recommend for people? Where do you start? Obviously, it depends, I'd imagine.
It depends. I just came out of I was trying all the things for 2.5 years while still in this relationship, and I do think that my libido was very much related to the relationship, and specifically related to, we had a lot of rounds of a lot of hurt, and a lot of the rounds were me essentially feeling like I'm not enough because he was asking for more of something, or another woman seemed to be more ideal, or whatever that was. Many rounds of that, yet we always came back together. And then I ended up getting pregnant on the IUD while he had fallen in love with another woman, was potentially going to leave me for the other woman, but I got pregnant on the IUD and had an abortion, and then he left 10 days later for 2 months, and we had zero contact because he needed to go and to learn how to fill his own worthiness cup without the attention of myself or the other women, because that seemed to be a theme. And so I felt highly abandoned. I just had this abortion, and now my partner left, and I had to do all this work on my own, and I was in so much emotional pain that I actually felt within a couple of days my sex drive turn off, and I chose it because I was like, the feeling just doesn't feel good at all right now, so I'm going to let that thing go. And then it got stuck, and then we ended up getting back together, and it just never really came back on full force. So that's my personal story, and I tried all of the things of like, going, reading all the books and knowing all the tools and doing different forms of breath work, and even doing my own self-touch practices to try to like recultivate this thing that I know is in there. I'd still have sex dreams where I'd be super turned on and having orgasms in my sleep, but when I'd wake up, it was like not accessible. It's not that I couldn't have orgasms. I could have them like from vibrators, and I could still have them like sometimes with partners, but it just was like, it was challenging and it was fleeting. And my best advice is experiences. Your body needs, your mind can know all of the things. You can listen to all the Shameless Sex podcasts and hear all the tools on how to do it, but your body has to experience it too, to know, to remember. And so there's a lot of ways. There's sexological body workers. I know that Jaya, she's a sexological body worker, and they're all over.
Done sessions with her, actually.
You have done sessions with her,
some interesting experiences,
Yeah, it's
like, most interesting moment was, I think this is my doing. When I'm like a back bend, and there's like her and a student person, and they're like,
you're holding a back bend while they're
Yeah, with an erection.
Getting the full visual. Love this. Keep going. Don't stop.
And they're like whipping me with stuff and doing all sorts of
because
really
she brought in
fascinating.
she do bondage too.
I don't know how to explain exactly.
she
It
brought a
was like the
kink.
poo-poo platter of all the things.
Oh, you had a big
essentially.
menu. Yeah.
I had a big menu.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. I found out that I'm not really interested in most of those things.
Yeah.
I just like sex. I'm
Yeah.
like an animal. Like I think if you like presented like I prefer to relate myself to like a mountain lion, but whatever, like a donkey or just some animal.
You're more than a donkey.
Oh, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, my
Yeah.
immediate thing was like mountain lion.
Yeah.
And
There you
I'm
go.
like, well, whatever. Fill an animal of your choice.
You're not like.
And you had like I don't know, like nipple electrifiers
Oh,
or
you
whipper thing.
got
I didn't
yeah.
do that. I'm just
Okay.
saying hypothetically.
Yeah.
I don't think said coyote or whatever would be like, what is this?
Yeah.
I'm more like a coyote.
You're more like a coyote, yeah. You're like more like the body-on-body experiences and less of
Yeah.
like the accoutrements. Or,
Sensual,
the tools.
sexual, to use Jaya's language.
Yes, because she has the erotic blueprints
With a
and all
little
that.
shape-shifty, I think.
Yeah.
I'm
yeah.
probably more shape-shifty than I realize.
Probably.
But probably my story is more that I'm a coyote.
Yeah. You're
But perhaps I'm like a circus coyote
maybe
that's
you're a
into
coyote.
all the things.
Maybe you're a coyote. Yeah, you're a coyote one day, mountain lion another day, and then you're a donkey. And hopefully you don't spend too much time as a donkey. But I think so. I think
Donkeys
those
are probably
experiences-
noble creatures.
I just keep thinking of donkey shows. I'm
They've
sorry.
got the
That's like
bags.
all-
They kind of they're helpful.
Except for when you become a mule and then you're a dead end of the chain.
Is that what that means?
Yeah, when you're a mule, they can't reproduce.
Oh,
It's just done.
I don't know if I can reproduce.
Well, maybe you're a mule then. Not a donkey.
Oh,
No, I'm sorry. You just
felt
said you
that.
don't know. I didn't.
hurt
I
my
didn't.
soul.
I did. I'm not the one that said you can't reproduce. Why? Because you've never got someone pregnant
Not
that
that
you
I
know of.
Perhaps in somewhere in like
It's funny,
Cambodia or
men
something.
always have to say, "Not that I know of."
Well, I mean, you don't know. I've traveled.
Yeah,
had
if
sex.
they've contacted you and told
It
you.
happened.
Yeah, well,
Been into villages.
you've been to villages. There are some beautiful half Cambodian, half Aaron Alexandrian specimens walking around.
Cambodian breast milk. They're beautiful people.
Yeah, they throw you in there too. It's like, wow.
Yeah, it's different.
People are trying to breed that on purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah, they all want. Where do I get one of those?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going back to answer your question. So, having experiences where your body can relate. So this is the hard thing. If you're in a partnership, this happens a lot. A lot, especially in the heterosexual world, long-term partnerships. Someone loses their desire. It's monogamous for those folks. So how do you go and get these new experiences that retrain your body to remember that you have desire, that you are desired, that you have arousal or horny libido, whatever that is? And hopefully you can do it in that partnership with that person. But sometimes, people like newness. They like new experiences. Yeah. I honestly think that's a little bit one of the best ways to do it is to go have new experiences that aren't your regular experiences that you're doing. And it's nothing against your partner, but
or you could recreate. You could create new experiences with that partner as well.
Yeah, get
You just got to
creative.
change one of the backdrops,
Yeah.
either the central person point or the backdrop behind them.
100%. And you can. There's so many ways that you can change that within the relationship dynamic. Or there's also opening relationships. Or you can stay monogamous, but you can go have experiences with sex workers. And I wouldn't call sexological body workers sex workers. They're hands-on healers for learning and healing.
It's a huge deal.
It's a whole different thing. And they're helping people to see, where do I have sensation? What is my body like? What is my body not like? Where's their pain? Where's their numbness? Whoa, I didn't even know this thing feels really good. Or like, and they help you to go slow to feel. That's my experience when I've seen sexological body workers. I've seen, there is subtle pleasure there. It's hidden behind my story.
Yeah.
But it's hard for me to go find that with my long-term partner because the story was so strong. Mm-hmm. And so I just wasn't able to see it in that context. So, that's a long-winded version of having experiences, whether it's within a partnership or not, finding ways for your body to relearn that and not just trying to do it with your mind or putting it on the side.
What do you think about anal massage?
I think anal massage is awesome and brilliant and probably one of the better ways to soften
soften your heart.
Soften your whole being and your heart and your ass.
It's all connected.
Soften all
really
of
is.
it. I mean, there's a lot held there in our pelvis, and I'm not a sexological body worker, so
You ever clench your anus?
Do I clench my anus?
Yeah, have you ever noticed like anal clenching?
I'm just felt into right now.
Yeah, feel in there.
No, it doesn't feel very clenched.
Good.
No, it doesn't.
Good.
I'm
a little clenchy.
You're a little clenchy? Yeah. Are you clenching right now? Or now you're...
I mean, I think a high percentage of my life to date has been a clenched anus.
Why do you think that is? Tight ass.
Tight ass.
That's where that term came from. Yes, tight
No,
ass.
that's real talk.
Yeah.
Yeah, same thing happens with people. Well, I want to get back to anal massage, but same thing happens like a lot of those little like memes or idioms. I think is what they are. Like when you're like he's got his cap on too tight. What does idiom mean? Did I misuse that? Idiom.
I do
feel
not
like
know.
it might be that.
I'm not sure. all the folks on the podcast like, how do
They're
you
got
not know
these
that?
idiots.
Oh my god. Well, I don't know everything. I just don't. So I don't know if I ever knew that one. But anyways,
We'll look it up.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm gonna call it an idiom.
Someone's gonna
I'm
need
just
to
gonna I'm
email
just
me.
gonna confidently say idiom.
Okay, idiom.
And just I'm sure that's not correct.
Go
anyway,
with it.
anyways,
You have 50% chance.
those idioms such as like your cap's on too tight.
Mm-hmm.
You'll literally feel that with people, like the connective tissue around their scalp. It's called the gallia appeneurotica. It's got like a real term name. When people are wound up and tense, you can literally feel it's as though their scalp is like bound to their cranium.
Oh.
Like when you feel my scalp.
Am I feeling for a tight scalp
Yeah, just
or a loose?
kind of push around there.
And
How's it feel?
And that's tight?
How's it feel to you?
I mean, it's a little tight right there, but it's moving.
How dare you?
Yeah. I mean, it's moving.
I've got
so
a
I don't
supple scalp.
Yeah, I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I'm
Call
feeling
me
for
a donkey.
tightness, but I don't.
You got a tight scalp.
Mine feels tight. I don't know. I'm a tight mule. But
You're showing me as a fraud now.
so through the work, is it working through your ass that it will unloosen your scalp?
Eventually, if
Yeah?
if there's contraction anywhere throughout your nervous system, there'll be a global contraction throughout the whole thing. So you can use that in your favor as well. And there's a fancy term called irradiation, which essentially when you contract, like you can try it right now. You're going to squeeze your hand a little bit if you want to. I can't force you to do anything. Yeah, doing it. So squeeze your hand just a little bit, people listening. Squeeze your hand a bit and then feel like maybe like 20%. You'll feel the contraction manifest itself around like, the hand. Right
You mean
now,
when I let go and like loosen it?
No,
No,
just
no.
when you're like,
Tight.
you'll feel the contraction in your hand maybe trickling
Yes.
down into the forearm a little bit,
Yeah.
right? Now squeeze your hand to like 50%. Now all of a sudden you can feel, it's like, oh wow, I'm like feel it up my forearm into the elbow, like the biceps starting to come online a little bit. Now squeeze it to 100%. As hard as you fucking can. In your jaw, you see your jaws clenching, your sphincters clenching,
There goes my.
your eyes open.
Damn
So that's
Tight
a
asshole.
term for that is irradiation. So the greater contraction that you have in any one specific area, it's almost like you're sending a stronger electrical charge to the whole system. It recruits more motor units, and the muscles come in line in such a way that they wouldn't had you not. So there's a lot of value in being able to contract all your sphincters really tight.
Yeah.
And then there's also immense value in being able to go to the other side of the spectrum and be able to relax entirely.
Listen, yeah.
But when you have a tight, especially something like as deep as your diaphragm or your anal rectum or your anal sphincter, any of that stuff, your throat, if you have deep contraction in there, it sends that signal out through the rest of the system. Then you move through the world, essentially like wasting energy all day long.
Yeah.
So now you're a tight ass and your cap's on
But
too
then you're tight everything,
and
yeah.
you're blocking people from entering you because you're always exuding this expression of contraction and closing down.
Yeah.
And now you reinforce. Sorry for getting all like Eckhart Tolle deep on this shit.
No, I like this.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. My listeners are like, okay, finally, they're not talking about fisting. Just
Oh,
kidding.
right,
No.
exactly. Well, we just did fisting. We did
We just
irradiation
did,
fisting.
yes, and
we both just fisted.
And they probably want to hear about that.
Yeah,
anyway, so,
exactly. We will.
yeah.
But you're moving through the world, then you have this contracted state. You perceive maybe other people as being closed off, and then you get this positive feedback loop or reinforcement of that feedback loop because someone else, ended up avoiding you or cut you off or didn't want to be around you or pushed you away.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, see, she was a bitch.
Yeah.
They're just like, aha, right, cool. And then you go back potentially to like link back to like the significant stuff. Perhaps that links back to like, oh, my life is harder than anybody else's. It's like, okay, I'm still, at least I'm still significant.
Yes, I'm important. Thank God. Otherwise, I would be lost. We had this on the asshole note. So I mean, there's also like safety just kept coming up around that, right? Like when my body has a lot of tightness, there's something about me that doesn't feel safe, and whether it's with the people I'm with or the environment or within my own
Earth,
body,
your country,
or within my heart,
your heart, yourself,
all
your
the
parents,
above.
your relationship to father or mother,
all of it, and so there's this, and that's the tightness I was speaking to. I think when I was having that experience of realizing the stainless steel cage there was a tightness to that. There was this like, I need to protect myself because people are trying to take from me, and I can't have that because it's scary. I don't want it. and then we talk about the ass, the anal sphincter, the anus is the root chakra, of this part of you that is in that realm, you would say, is responsible for safety and grounding and all of that. But aside from all the hippy dippy wonderful things, we had this guy on our podcast, Charlie Glickman, and he's a sex educator, and he wrote The Ultimate Guide to Prostate. Is it Pleasure and Health? And I'm not going to say this right, so go back to this episode, everyone. But he said that oh my God, I'm not going to say this right at all. But in utero, the first thing, the body part that we start out as, I'm going to say this completely wrong, but I think he said is an anus. Like we all start out as an asshole. And I did not look in this. I do not have the research to say this. And I was like, are you serious? And Charlie knows his stuff, so I believed him, but I didn't continue on to research it. But you're essentially born an asshole. You're kind of, you're not an asshole anymore.
Yeah.
You have one. And you used to be one, though. You used to really just be an asshole.
Yeah.
And that it's kind of the original holder of you, of all of you, and then you grow out beyond that. So I'm not the expert on this one. This is what Charlie said. Go Google it to make sure that that's even true.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you kind of are an asshole. You're also a heart.
Yeah.
The heart forms before the brain.
Yeah.
It's interesting thinking of your asshole and your intestines as being actually, it's almost like its own environment separate from the inside of your body.
Mm-hmm.
It's like there's a continuous tube or tubes that are relating up your ass, wrapping all the way through into this empty space to allow stuff to move through, all the way back out your mouth.
Yeah.
And then there's like the interior of your body outside of that.
Yeah.
Which again is just kind of like a way to look at it. But I don't know, it's just fascinating, that whole experience. But the only thing that's relevant and interesting in that is that your heart forms before your brain. Is kind of what it is.
Very interesting. Your heart forms before your brain, but then we all get stuck in our brains.
We get stuck in our brains
and forget how to get.
Yeah, I can tangibly. There's a people might be interested in checking out a guy called Eugene Gendlin, I believe is how you say his last name, and it's called focusing technique. A focusing technique, what it is essentially finding parts in your body. Like, so if you're experiencing stress, you're wigged out about whatever. Are you stressed about anything right now?
I have a busy couple days coming up, but it's not super stressful. It's just like an anticipation. It's going to be a lot.
Do you notice stress, like, experienced anywhere in your body? Like, some people say, like, oh, I've, like, a very common thing, not that this would relate to you per se, but very common thing is like, oh, I've stress in my shoulders and my neck and my traps and my back or whatever.
I'm not experiencing like an actual sensation, but what it does for me is when it pops up in my mind, it pulls me out of my body and just into my mind. And then I notice that I'm like, okay, I'll be in the moment. I'm going to get there to all of the things. And then I come back, but it isn't feeling like a tightness or a sensation. But I guess maybe.
You think you don't carry any tightness in your body?
Oh, no. I'm not. I definitely carry tightness at times.
Where does it live at? Where does
right
it predominantly
now,
live at?
It depends on the time. I mean, like I was saying, that stainless steel cage that I was carrying was everywhere.
Yeah.
It was all over the whole thing, especially around my genitals and my heart. It was like very, very strong. I think, though, more commonly it will be around my heart. Like there's more of like a constriction or a tightness, or it almost feels like there's a wall there that at times is really hard to get down, if not impossible, and at times it's completely gone. It just depends on the environment.
So if you were to feel into that area, we're not going to, because I'm not like a focusing practitioner or whatever, but I've read the book. If you were to feel into that area, is there any image that would potentially pop up in relation?
Into relation to tightness?
Yeah. So people listening, as we're sitting here, feel if there's tightness in your shoulders, or maybe around the back behind your heart, or maybe your low back, or your knee, or something. From there, if you're kind of silent with yourself for a little while, is there any image that pops up? It might just be like, I wish this guy would shut up. That image would be fine.
Get to the sex stuff.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm just curious. Is there any image that pops up with you?
Right now, for me, it's like a white picket fence. It has,
interesting.
Yeah, because for me, when I feel into that, like there's the stainless steel wall, then there's a stainless steel cage that has holes but still stainless steel.
Yeah.
Then there's just like this little wooden fence thing. Right now, it's kind of like a white picket fence. There's like a little bit of it there, but that's like it's always like a wall or a fence that I work with in terms of the image that pops
So
up.
one of the things the questions, I might be misrepresenting this, but one of the questions they ask in the focusing technique is once you come up with that image, start to kind of gain terms with it and kind of be there and see if it has anything to say.
Yeah.
One of the questions that it asks to ask is, what's the worst thing that can happen?
Mm-hmm.
Going what's the worst thing that can happen from this picket fence and from this, like, whatever this protection is around there? Do you know what the worst thing that can happen?
It turns
for you
into a stainless steel wall again. Terrifying. That something something gets through the picket fence because it's more open and has holes, and then and that's scary. So I put the stainless steel wall gets up again.
But what if the fence wasn't there or the wall wasn't there? Like, what's the worst thing that can happen if there was no access to fence?
The same thing. Feeling a lot of pain, you need to put a wall up. So just pain. Pain. Feeling a lot of hurt, and so that, I think that's the case for most people. Like, I don't want to feel pain, and I want to avoid that at all costs.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's hurting. Yeah. But no, but on this other side of it, like, no, honestly, I'm more fearful of having a stainless steel wall up and not feeling than I am of hurting. Like, I would rather hurt and feel that hurt than
you can feel through it. Like Rumi said, like the cure for the pain is in the pain.
Yeah, you can.
As soon as you just like feel the damn pain.
Yeah, go through it.
Yeah, I don't like messing with like Tylenols and stuff. Like if I have a fever, I go the inverse. Which, not to say that I've done this with like my emotional self, obviously, as I already alluded to, but at least with fevers.
Yeah, fevers. Yeah,
good with
that's
fevers.
That's the one. Yeah, I know I got that one covered. It's not everything else.
I'd much rather go and put a bunch of blankets on me and get in a sauna and just like blast that shit out.
Yeah.
And make it be like a 24-hour fever as opposed to like a 20-year fever.
Yeah. Burn it out. Yeah. Well, and I get that, and I think that the feeling of being stuck in not feeling, being super frustrated with that, and feeling the limitations that has to my own physical experience, my connection with other people. And I think that's the dis-ease that so many people are experiencing. Like they want a connection. They're feeling so empty and alone and depressed because of the way things are set up, or whatever the setup is for them. So many people are walking around with little stainless steel walls and cages, and they just don't see that. They don't know what that is.
How do you integrate anal into a relationship, and should you?
I can't say everyone should, but if you're on board for it, I think it's awesome. I personally
and
just
what is the value of anal outside of it's just cool?
It's so in right now. Anal. It was funny. April and I decided on Sex with Emily's podcast that 2016 was the year of anal licking.
Oh wow!
Because we both got a lot of random offers.
I think it's the year of the rabbit as well.
Yeah, rabbits and anal licking. I'm pretty sure 2019 is the year of armpits. Like I've talked to so many people that have lovers that just like are obsessed with their armpit and they just want to bury themselves and they love their natural smell.
Will the year of missionary ever come back?
It's always around, but I don't think we'll make a whole year out of it. So it's boring. It sounds boring. And I think with anal, for me, I think so we have a sexual menu of all the things that we can do with partners or with ourselves. When we take a whole orifice or part of the body that has a lot of nerve endings off the menu, our menu is a lot smaller. So when people aren't adding anal to the menu, for me, I've been in relationships where people were like, I don't want anything to do with your ass or my ass, none of that. I'm just like, okay, well, I can respect that. And kind of a bummer because it just adds more things.
We're vegan.
Aaron, I can't be vegan. It's not going to work for me. So there's that, and then also there's a lot of really great stuff there. A lot of people experience more surrender and in safe anal experiences, and feeling like deep release. I've been with men who have had prostate orgasms and witnessing that, like seeing their release in that. Wow, it's. Compared to a lot of the other orgasms I've seen men experience, it seems like there's just a lot more of this like surrender and letting go, and then anal can be like naughty and taboo. There's so many things that are available there.
Pretty sure anal play is one of the keys to accessing the Kundalini thing that people talk about.
Are they all doing a whole bunch of anal?
Not all of them.
Like
not saying that Kundalini practitioners are putting things in their butt.
Yes,
but
you are.
but I think that upon doing that, it kind of stirs up like certain deep clenchings that one may have and not realize it. And it's like this compression and moving, perturbation, all that stuff at the base of your sacrum and your pelvis. And in my experience with that, only with myself, I've got like a tool.
Like
That's what a
Narrows?
man says. I have a tool.
Like a prostate simulator, you mean? Is that what you're talking about? Okay, yes. Yeah. Uh-huh.
And so after using the tool.
It's like a hammer.
Yeah.
Do you wear it to Kundalini classes?
I think that'll be like 2021.
Everyone
It'll
gets
be
there.
like
Bring
the
your
year of
prostate stimulator.
prostate tools at Kundalini.
I bet.
I think the world's ready.
I think the world's.
We're getting close.
ready.
We're getting close.
Animals, people are getting more on board. And I understand. I want to respect some
Wait,
people.
but so
if they're
what
not
I was
into
gonna
it.
say.
Oh, sorry.
So after doing
the thing,
Yeah.
the tool.
With the tool.
Yes. Wait.
Perturbating the parts.
Uh-huh.
I feel this like elongation and relaxation in and around like my spine and kind of like it's almost like feels like this elongating up through my spine.
The Kundalini.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
You experience this? You don't need to.
Not
You don't
with
need to just corroborate.
I don't have a prostate, so
Well, not a prostate, just stuff in your butt.
I feel.
Could I say that?
Yes, you totally can. I don't know if I feel the elongating from stuff in my butt per se, but I have felt, from more like transcendent orgasms that are not something that I've yet to figure out how to have every single time. That there is this upward motion, but there's this part of me that feels like the base of me, and that there's something flowing from the earth through my whole body up to upward. And
Such a hippie.
I know, I'm from Santa Cruz. I'm from Santa Cruz, but I want those orgasms all the time. I just haven't figured out how to have them. So,
how does one
maybe
increase
that's
their
why.
orgasmic potential?
Well, I mean, you would know this breath is really, really big. Obviously, a lot of people aren't. They're obviously breathing because you're alive while you're having sex, but a lot of people are doing like really
Unless
light, shallow
you're
breathing.
into necrophilia.
Yeah, and someone's
thing?
alive and someone's not.
I like
so.
that I don't know what idiom means, but I know necrophilia.
Oh my God, you're so you little pervert. Your listener's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Wait, I already forgot we were talking about necrophilia.
Increasing orgasmic
orgasm
potential with dead people.
Yeah, with the breathe the life back into them so they can breathe again and be alive. Yeah, I mean, breath is a big part of it, and again, I'm just going to go back to speaking to my experience with someone who's been having a hard time feeling sensation, having orgasms, and all that just has been really challenging. Knowing all the tools, and so breath alone wasn't enough. So I'm just going to say once again, safety, relaxation, slowness, getting out of your way, complete presence and getting out of your way of needing to get from point A to point B. And really, really paying attention to all the subtleties. I think what happens with orgasms, a lot of people look for the big thing, and including me often, although I'm getting much better at it lately, but instead of paying attention to all the little subtle feelings, like, oh, there's a little, or you can use a number system, like they'll do that in sexological bodywork. A 1 is like, I like the scale of someone used -3, 0 to 3. -3 is pain, 0 is numbness, and 3 is like I'm probably going to have an orgasm. A lot of pleasure, and if you start to pay attention to like the subtleties, you're like, oh, like yeah, there's a 1 in there, like oh that's a 0, like it's kind of numb, or wow, there's pain there, -3. And I think a lot of people are only seeing -3, 0, and 3, and not the in-betweens.
Right.
And so I think that we can experience more when we slow down and pay attention to following the thread of our own body through our own touch or through someone else's touch. And that can lead to the bigger things, combined with breath, combined with Kegels and having a strong pelvic floor, but not a too tight pelvic floor, also relaxing your asshole and relaxing your, your cock or your pussy and all these things too. So it's a compilation of things.
The pelvic floor thing can be confusing with like the Kegel muscle stuff because it's not addressing the mechanics.
Yeah.
It's just taking whatever fucking position you're in and let's just tighten that stuff up.
Yeah.
So if you're looking at,
there's
so much more to it. Yeah. So being able to actually take all those muscles throughout the pelvic floor and all the muscles of your whole body really through their full expression, full range of motion, functional range of motion.
Yeah.
Just in doing that, you're naturally doing Kegel exercise, essentially.
Yeah.
You're contracting and relaxing through full range of motion, as opposed to you sitting hunched over in this like sad puppy dog position all day long, like squeezing your sphincter muscles and your pee muscles. It's like, that's not it.
Not really going to do very
We're
much.
not doing it.
Yeah.
We're not there.
Yeah. Like,
We could do better.
Yeah, there's a lot more to it, everyone. And I think that taking into account all of the pieces, I think people want the one quick and easy way to have the better sex and the better orgasm. And it doesn't work that way for most people. And if it does for you, then wow, lucky. Oh, you just did some Kegels and now you have better orgasms. That's great. It's not usually that way. It's usually as mind, body, spirit, connection, safety, all these things, knowing some ideas and tools, but not getting attached to them, and presence. And then I say that to people like, oh, that's exhausting. Like, that's a lot of things. And that's how it works.
I know we talked about this last time. What are your thoughts of, so we don't need to go too deep into it, but what are your thoughts about semen retention for men?
It's for them to not, so in
Busting,
terms of
busting nuts.
I think that it's a great practice. I mean, again, when I see men, they're how they feel after they ejaculate, they look pretty tired. And whereas a lot of female body folks or vulva owners, when they ejaculate, vulva owners, which are getting.
Can you own a vulva?
You own it. I own it. You own. I'm assuming you have a penis. 'Cause I haven't seen you naked.
It's like a dog.
You own it. Yeah.
I'm always wondering about that.
It's mine. Or you call it homegrown vulva.
Homegrown vulva.
I grew it myself.
I feel more comfortable with that.
Okay, so homegrown vulvas.
Yeah.
Well, because female body, it used to be in the human sexuality realm, the PC term, but now there's people that that they don't identify with female body, but they still have a vulva. You know, so they don't identify with female. So, anyways,
Right.
so that's the language is constantly changing. So we learn and we follow the thread of that. And I'm still learning, and I don't get it right every single time. I forgot what we were talking about again.
We're like over the time. That's great.
Oh shit!
Oh shit!
Oh my god, we went past the hour, Aaron. Our listeners are gonna be so upset. I mean,
like
our
it.
listeners usually like
think
it.
It's great.
Yeah. Was something I needed to end with then? What were we saying?
Over now.
Okay. The parties, but what if they're like, what was the thing that Amy forgot? And she was talking about it, and now it's gone.
Well,
Bodies, vulva. Well, sorry guys.
We
Email
said
me.
Vulva. No,
Yeah.
we're not ended like that. I just don't have any timepiece at all, and so I'm like,
That's your timepiece right there.
That is the timepiece, but it's in the wrong. We're sitting out on my porch.
It's
the
nice out
side.
here.
We're sitting beside a
He tried
cold chest freezer.
He tried to get me in his freezer
last time,
and this time he tried to get me in his
just
sauna.
Say no. This time I tried to get in the sauna.
Yeah, I was like, I'm in my
I turned the heat up.
Tire.
That's my move.
Yeah, that's my move. Yes, and the acro yoga with no underwear.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah, I swear this is professional, everyone.
Yep.
Yeah. There's no flirtation happening here
0%.
at all. Not at all.
Never.
Not one bit. Oh, I'm distracted.
Highly
now.
professional. And my pants are off. That's okay.
I'm not wearing underwear. Oh well, what can you do? It's talking about sex though, so it makes perfect sense.
We should probably wrap this bitch up.
We should wrap it up. But on that note, I would just like to end with I find this surprising, but for having a sex podcast, I've never podcasted naked, and that makes for a good show, I think.
Oh, next time.
Next time, we'll naked podcast and see what
I
happens.
invite myself.
We'll get very distracted. We'll be like,
Yeah, that'd be different.
I already forgot what I was talking about at least twice on this, so that's going to happen more.
What about
next time.
erectile dysfunction with men? You have any tips on that?
On how to deal with it?
Something I don't personally deal with. Not that I need to say that. It's just my little significance validation coming out.
Okay, good. So not coming from
but
personal
I have dealt
experience.
with a lot of premature ejaculation. Thankfully, no more.
Yeah.
But that was a mofo.
And that's usually, I mean, they're both often come from the same place as people having this getting stuck in their heads. Yeah, anxiety is you have one experience.
It gets worse because then you have the pressure of the situation. You already know it's going to happen, so you're just like, oh.
And then it happens.
And then it happens. You're like,
You're getting in your own way.
It's terrible.
The one thing that you don't want to happen, you don't want your cock to get soft at the wrong time or to come too early, whatever that means, and then you end up doing it because you're in your head worrying about doing the thing.
Yeah.
And it's an imprinting process because your mind and body just got on board for this thing that it's now stuck in. Just like me losing my desire. It was an imprinting process that happened that I got stuck in as well. And they often, and it's, some people it can be a blood flow thing, and or they're diabetic or whatever that is. But for the most part, what we see is it's mental, and it's not just mental; it's the whole thing working together. But it's starting to notice the thought process that you're having and starting to have new experiences. Again, this is where sex workers are great because when you have sex with a sex worker, you're usually not worried about pleasuring and pleasing them. Sometimes you are, but it's more so like, oh, I'm paying for this. There isn't all this pressure on me to perform. There are some people that pay sex workers just so they can give the sex worker pleasure, but if you're having stuff around erectile stuff or ejaculatory stuff, having experiences that there isn't this pressure and this need to perform and please and impress can retrain your body is a great way to do it, but also just getting out of your own way.
Could probably just cut out the word perform.
Yes.
And that would probably be beneficial for everyone.
And not having sex with people that shame you and are like, oh my God, your cock is soft, now we can't play. That's what I was talking to my girlfriend about this, and because someone that she plays with, they like them some cocktails, so the cock isn't always hard at night, but in the morning it's rock hard because they're sober. Rock hard in the morning. They're like, it's just like ready to go. Yeah. And she has never shamed him because I think what a lot of women will do when their partner, their male partner, their cock goes soft, they just stop. They're like, oh, we can't play now. Like, all right, I guess that's over.
Right.
And that's you don't even have to say that. It's shaming. They're like, okay, so I'm only worth my cock being hard. Otherwise, there's nothing I can give. But there's so much more you can do and that is available, and to let them know, like, oh, it's fine if you're soft. Like, there's so much more we can do.
We could play video games.
We can go get out the Game Boy.
We could make ice cubes.
Yeah, but sex is off the table because your cock is now soft, and everything is about a hard cock all the time.
Yeah.
But when you do that, when you take that pressure off of it, and you're not shaming them, the cock often just gets hard again because it's like, oh, it's not scary out there.
All right.
I can show up as I am.
Cool.
Wait, we're gonna end on erections.
That's right. We're gonna end it on erections. Where should people go from here on my side?
So, for your list, I was like, I don't know all your
We're
links.
releasing this on both
podcasts,
both programs. I call them programs.
Programs?
I don't like podcast. I think it's too redundant. Just
Your
gets used so
Midwest
much.
accent just come out a little bit.
That's right.
I don't like
From Pennsylvania.
I like that.
Podcasts.
Yeah. Pennsylvania's not the Midwest, though.
No, I know.
Okay.
But nonetheless,
Yeah.
there's too much podcasts.
Yeah, too many podcasts.
I do a program.
Everyone is
I do a
podcasting.
damn program.
All right, so your program and my podcast. So, I mean, I don't only have a podcast, so
if you're more of a program person, tune
go
into
to Aaron.
a line.
Yeah, go to Aaron.
More of a podcast person, go to Shameless Sex.
Yes. So we are Shameless Sex. You can go to shamelesssex.com where we have our podcast there. We have a blog. We have an online workshop for female identified folks who want to be more sexually open, not meaning like open relationship open, but more like in their power. And then we also, our podcast is Shameless Sex on all the apps, iTunes, Google Play, all the things. And then we're on Instagram at Shameless Sex Podcast. We were disabled for about 3 days and we got it back.
Why disabled?
All sex educators are just getting screwed. You get flagged once, and Instagram decides that you're raunchy. Meanwhile, there's all kinds of male-owned accounts with booties twerking, and they're not getting taken
mine's
down.
all just abs and dick pics.
And you're
Nobody
not
gives a crap.
And no one cares. Yeah, you're not
it's
going.
called a line podcast.
Yeah,
shameless plug.
Yeah, but yeah, exactly. There are a lot of abs. So anyways, everyone go check out Aaron's Instagram if you want to go and get a hard cock. Where are your? Tell our listeners where they.
It's all
find
line podcast if you want to go, or just type. You can type Aaron Alexander into the thing, and
it'll come
it'll
up.
sort out. But yeah, Line Podcast is the spot. So
And
I'll
your-
release it this the same day.
Your Instagram is a line.
Everything's Line Podcast.
Yeah, a line
ALIGN.
podcast. And your book.
podcast.
One more time. Talk about your book again.
Well, it's not too much to talk about because it's not going to be out by the time this comes out.
This
but-
is an evergreen product, Aaron.
Oh, that's a good
They
point.
could listen to this in 2025.
That's a good point. 2020. If you are listening to this in 2025, go grab the Align Method. By that time, hopefully, I'll be on like my third or fourth book. So
Yeah.
I'd rather you buy that one. I think.
Okay.
So this is very confusing.
So then again, go to Aaron's website to find out what he's talking about, and maybe there will be info about the next release on there. So,
yeah, exactly. All right.
Well, this is always fun.
Thanks so much. I'll put my clothes back on now.
Sure you will. I'll go put underwear on.
Over and out.
Don't forget to head on over to our website at shamelesssex.com for more. And for 15% off of some of our favorite sex toys, use coupon code SHAMELESSPP in all caps at purepleasureshop.com.